Hi, I'm Captain Valerie Matthews, and I'm the Captain of Major Crimes with the San Francisco Police Department. So homicide, gangs, and robbery are the three units that I'm responsible for. If you have specific questions in regard to the last officer shooting.
Homicide, gangs, and what?
And robbery.
Okay, well, the question, I have is that, and a lot of people are wondering, is that with the officer Samoya?
Mm-hmm.
Samoya, am I pronouncing
Yes.
it correctly? Samoya. With him being, 4 days out of the academy in training, what you guys call limbo, and with the field training officer, when we know, in law enforcement, when under field training officer, the trainee has to do everything the field officer tells him. And so I don't understand, well, if he's under training and he's in limbo, what exactly did the field training officer tell him? Because one, he shot through a closed window. Two, which they did not tell us, after he dropped his gun on the ground, and San Francisco Police Department thought the gun belonged to Mr. O'Neil, and they didn't verify that it wasn't Mr. O'Neil's gun until like an hour and a half later when they found out it was Officer Samoya's gun. I mean, it's just like, why is he still on the force? Why, 4 days on the job, on probation, and he's still on the force?
Well, first of all, you're asking me things I can't answer because it's an ongoing investigation, which is now in the hands of the district attorney's office. So homicide does their initial investigation along with other agencies as well. And when they complete their investigation, they hand everything over to the district attorney's office. And that's where this case is right now. So I can't really get into the specifics of the case because it's something that's pending. And I can't jeopardize the case, in any way. So unfortunately, I can't answer those questions.
Well, what is protocol in that situation? She's asking. Protocol of, in any scenario. With what, I mean, you can answer it kind of generic.
What do you mean, protocol in terms of?
As far as what are the steps with the officer? Does he stay on the force until the DA decides to do anything? Is that why he's there? Or I'm just saying, speak in general, not necessarily specifically.
So the district attorney's office, they're looking at these cases when there's an officer involved shooting in terms of the criminal aspect of it. Was there something that you would charge to this person with criminally? The administrative investigation, which is what the police department is responsible for, that's what will determine if he will keep his job. So those things are ongoing.
My son was shot dead on the other side of the bay in Richmond. And so it really means a lot to me.
Sorry for that.
Thank you. Are you ever going to be able to answer any of these questions, or is the police officer's bill of rights preventing you from ever talking about this officer?
Well, I wouldn't say we won't ever be able to talk about it, but while it's still pending, while it's in the district attorney's office, there's a component of this that they're going to have to answer to in terms of their findings, in terms of how they are or they're not going to proceed in this case. So I can't even begin to speak for them because they're the ones that are looking at this, criminally. So in that regard, I can't. Now, as far as the administrative part regarding discipline, regarding termination, all of those things, that's something that later on, once the investigation is complete administratively, through the chief of police, the police commission, those decisions will be made in terms of will he keep his job, will he won't keep his job, is this a training issue, all those different things that are looked at anytime there's an officer involved shooting.
And so right now, what I'm hearing is administratively, the investigation has been completed. And now it's in the hands of the DA. Once the administrative part of the investigation is completed, then it's handed over to the DA.
No, what you're hearing is the criminal part, which is what homicide, they handle and turn over their investigation to the district attorney's office. and then they do their own investigation, and then they decide, they look at all the information and come up with their findings and decide what they have and how they're going to proceed. As far as the administrative part, that's handled in another unit, and I'm not involved in that.
And so wait a minute. So what are the general orders? Okay, it's just like, you know, what we're hearing and what, you know, some have asked. We may not can get specifics on the actual shooting, but what are the basic general orders for anyone who does not pass probation, or, you know, or their probation is in jeopardy, or, you know, is there a general order that outlines, you know, basically what will happen to an officer who doesn't pass probation, or who doesn't pass the training?
Well, there's several things that can happen depending on how they decide to proceed administratively. So, you know, were you found, you know, at fault with anything? Were you found to be out of policy? Were you know, all these things are looked at. When you're on probation, you're considered a miscellaneous employee, so to speak. You know, which means you don't fall under the normal guidelines of a police officer that has completed their probation. So all these things are taken into consideration, and no two officer-involved shootings are alike. Each situation is different, the scenario is different, the officers are different, the circumstances are different. So all of those things are taken into account, and when they're reviewing that, they're looking at what is our policy on this, what is our policy on that, what happened. So, you know, each case is so different. There's no set way or rule on how these things are handled. You know, because the information each time is just so different. Yes?
Regarding policy, is it the policy that if the field training officer is to direct the specific movement of the trainee? I mean, for example, well, I'm getting into specifics, but what are the regulations and the policies regarding the relationship between the field training officer and the trainee?
Well, I don't work in field training, so I can't go into all the specifics, but what I will tell you is when you finish the academy and you're placed at a station and you go through the field training program, you know, you go through a series of field training officers because you have different phases. So, you know, you have your first phase, your second phase, your third phase, then I think they go back and do another phase. So obviously in each phase, it's like building blocks, right? Because when you first come out of the academy, and then, you know, the first phase, you're not expected to know as much as the second phase, you know, that type of thing. So in terms of your FTO working with you, they do have rules that they follow and guidelines, and they have a guideline of things that they're responsible to help you learn over that phase that they have you. You know, it used to be 4 weeks, now I believe each phase is 6 weeks. But again, I don't work at a station and I don't deal with the field training officers. But they have a guideline and they grade, you know, these recruits each day on, you know, on things they do, you know, things that are positive, things that are negative, you know, their reports, you know, all of these things.
Is it against protocol for a regular police officer to draw a gun and shoot through a window? Now, this isn't in this particular, I'm not talking about this particular instance, I'm talking about, is that permissible?
I don't think there's a clear-cut answer to that because every situation you're in, there's a certain set of facts or things that are going on. And so you have to look at the totality of the situation. And then that's through an investigation to determine, you know what I mean, if you operated properly or not. So there's no clear-cut way to answer that. You know what I mean? Like you could say, you can never shoot through this window with someone outside. But if there's someone outside that I see that's, you know, killing a bunch of people, maybe I would have to. So I just use that to say there's no set rule. You know, you have to look at what's going on and what information you have at the time and what your perceptions are at the time, because the reality is that plays a part in how you respond to anything.
Well, I think, really, I hear what you're saying, Captain, the situation, but the thing of this, Keita was not harmed, and Officer Samoya, he shot through a window at him when clearly he was unarmed and clearly he was really trying to run for safety. And the thing of it is that I understand that you may not be able to give a lot of information, but at the same time, we, the community, feel that that Officer Samoya, should not be on the job. At any corporate agency, corporations, city and county, they have what they call probation. And if you really mess up, you are then what we call an at-will employee, that you can be let go at will. And obviously from what he has done, I mean, he should be let go. I mean, it's just no way that he should still be on the job. Whatever the training that he is doing, whatever he's doing, he's not qualified right now. And the thing of it is, for me, when you look at, because officers have to go through psychological testing and a psychological panel, obviously he felt very comfortable in killing them because he's at work.
Well,
You know what I'm saying? I mean, after the 10 days of administrative leave for what is the policy of San Francisco Police
actually,
Department.
he's not at work.
Okay, so he's not at work. He's on medical leave or something?
He's
And now,
he's on leave.
okay, so what I understand, so that must have just happened not too long ago? Because
I think
before,
it's been this way for a little while now.
But-
But I don't know, see, you're asking me questions, I
Okay.
don't have the specifics on.
okay, all I'm saying is, after the shooting, right, the 10 days administrative leave, he did go back to San Francisco Police Department to work.
Mhm.
Now, we know that.
Mhm.
That was told to us. So I don't know when exactly he went on leave, but they did accept him back. And I'm saying for the community, why in the world would San Francisco Police Department even, accept him back? Because clearly, he doesn't fit,
Well,
the
that's-
training.
That's something,
You know what I'm saying?
that's something that the chief would have to answer.
Mhm.
Anytime you're involved in a shooting, you're taken off automatically for 2 days. That's a normal protocol,
Mhm.
so that you have an opportunity to get some services if needed, and there's evaluations and things that are done. He did come back to work, and he did work in a non-public capacity for a short time. I don't know the specifics of how long it was, if it was a week, if it was 1 day, but he was taken back off work.
I wanted to ask a question about the role of a trainee or probationer. When they're taken out into the field, I guess with a supervisor, is that correct? I'm not sure how
Well,
that works.
when they're out in the field, they're assigned a training officer. So for different phases of the field training program.
So, although you can't speak on this specific subject, so I don't know what phases, I don't even know what it looks like, but I guess what my question is, if a probationer is if a probationer is assigned a field officer and they are brought out into the community and they get a call to respond to, right, and they respond to that call, is that officer who's not really a full officer, right, because probation, able to pull out a weapon and use it? Or should they wait for an order from who's ever in charge or dispatched to that area because that person isn't there by themselves, I'm correct? That person is on probation with someone else that should be in charge.
Well,
So my question is, are they able to just make their own determination, their own judgment, you know what I mean, unless it's life-threatening and it's like right here in my face? Other than that, are they supposed to be given a directive?
You're asking, there's no policy that says your FTO has to tell you when to fire your gun, if that's
I
your
think that's
question.
what I'm asking.
Yeah, there's
Are
no
they-
policy, but you have to remember, and not talking about that
Right.
case specifically, but just in general, you could be a training officer, and I could be a recruit, and we could be walking down the street right now, And I might observe something that you don't see, and there may not be time for me to tell you to get your reaction. You see what I mean? So at the same time, yes, you have a training officer, but no, there's no policy in place that says that training officer has to tell you, when to fire your weapon.
So then you are able to make your own decision.
To a point, you've been trained at the academy, you've been in a rigorous 8-month program. Hopefully, you've learned to have some discernment. Hopefully, this means you've passed, numerous tests and gone through different phases of training, to help and role play different scenarios to help prepare you to come out on the street. But again, those two situations are the same, so there's no way to predetermine what a recruit should or shouldn't do in any situation until it's in front of you.
What was the name of the training officer?
It was Officer Toulousan.
I'm sorry?
Officer Toulousan.
Toulousan with a T?
Yes.
What about time and distance?
Well,
Hasn't that policy been increased recently?
It has when it's appropriate. So you have to look at the totality of whatever the incident is. We specifically use that a lot in terms of dealing with people that are mentally ill. People that are ill, that maybe have a weapon, that may be attempting to harm themselves, whenever you can use time and distance. So again, that's a case-by-case basis. We've had many cases that have been very successful where you've had an opportunity to exercise time and distance, and you've been able to get someone in place to talk to that person and get them to calm down, get them to drop their weapon, get them, you know what I mean? Get the appropriate help in there. But that's not always the case. So again, each case is so different.
So why was Officer Toulousan, after all of this tragedy happened in the Bayview, why was he kept on at Bayview Station and then given an opportunity to, still patrol Bayview community in a position, the capacity of traffic?
I can't answer that question. I don't work at Bayview Station. I'm not the captain.
Mm-hmm.
And those decisions would have been made above Captain Ford's pay grade.
Mm-hmm.
So I can't answer that.
Mm-hmm. So again, it would be, that was determined by Chief Scott to keep him back. And so the thing of it is too, the second question is Bayview still considered the training station for the San Francisco Police Department?
I'm not positive because I don't work at Bayview. I have heard that it was no longer going to be a training station, but I can't confirm that at this point.
Okay.
I would like to make a statement here about how after Mario Woods was murdered, the department did such a good job of dealing with people without using deadly force, fatal force. And now we hear Martin Allen talking about tasers and all that. The San Francisco Police Force was doing such a great job without, they took down like 3 people without fatal consequences or more. And now all of a sudden we need more fatal force or disabling force or whatever we want to call it. And
Well, I can't speak for Marty Halloran. He's the president of our Police Officers Association. But what I will tell you is if you look across the nation at the news on any given day, you'll see some type of incident regarding police officers that are being injured and or they're in some type of life-threatening incident, whether it's, where they've used deadly force on someone or where they've been assaulted. We just had an incident here a week ago where we had an officer run over twice by a suspect, as well as the suspect running over one of his cohorts. So I will say that, these are things that our association looks at, and they look overall at the totality of what's happening nationwide. I had an officer that was injured last night. So a lot of times, it may not make the news, but we've had quite a few officers that have been injured lately, and it's not just with the gun. It may not be with the car. It may be physical. There's all these different things that come into play. So, with Marty Halloran, with the Police Officers Association, looking at tasers. I think it was looked at overall as just a way of not necessarily using deadly force, but a way to stop a threat and hopefully have a positive outcome that doesn't end a person's life.
I just like to go on record as saying, I respect all life, and even the police officer's life, even though when it's, shot my son.
I want to add that, respectfully, since Martin Lewis, there have been other inhumane killings of people of color since Mario Lewis, so I can't really agree with that statement. I will say there have been some changes, but the changes that we're looking for, that seems like it just, to me, that Hallahan, whatever his name is, or the police officer commission, just have too much power. And for this Bill of Rights that was created in New York, didn't make it through Congress, but they funneled it in through state legislature, which came through California, and now they have police Bill of Rights that just protect them all the way around. So when we hear something like a trainee, it's different in the military. We go into boot camp, we learn, then we go out and we're able to execute whatever our knowledge was. Whereas a recruit, who's not even a full-fledged officer, has the right to make that decision, even if it is life or death. And I get it what you're saying, that police get attacked too, and we all in this room know that. But at the same time, we talking about a person that's not all the way fully trained, that has the right to make this decision. But my question, my question is, how come we can't get to the point of where we can get some legislation done on that police Bill of Rights by those that really know the gaps and loopholes? Why is everybody afraid of it? I think that's my question.
I think the thing of it is for the, to attack the police officer Bill of Rights, that's going to have to come from the community. And I believe that the community will have to become unified as one and put pressure on our legislators. I know Leno carried it for the ACLU to try to bring the police department into being more transparent, and they are moving, closer to some things, but not really attacking the police Bill of Rights, and that's something that the community is going to have to do. And as the many various movements that we have around police brutality, that's something that I believe that we all would have to come together to attack. But before Vanessa, I just want to say too, Captain Matthews, when you talk about policy, right, and we can't say this and we can't say that, but the thing of it is, general orders, right, governs San Francisco Police Department. And are those general orders public information?
I believe they are.
Okay, and how can we get a copy of the police department's general orders? Because in the general orders, it tells you what they can and cannot do most of the time. So how can we get a copy of the general orders?
So if it's not online, I will forward a copy.
Okay, all right, thank you. Okay, Vanessa?
So how you doing? Thank you for being here. I just wanted to know, a question on the negotiators and when are they called out, and basically what we in our lives out here as Black people or Latinos is we don't get the same thing as white people.
That's right.
Now, it was a man down at City Hall with a gun, swinging a gun at the police. They called in a negotiator or did whatever they had to do. They didn't shoot him. They didn't feel like they was all in that much of a danger. And this man is sitting here with a pistol in his hand, waving it around. So you know what that tells me? That was a conspiracy. It was placed there. So you know what that tells me? A white person can wave a gun at the police all day long and not get shot at. And then a Black brother, a Latino brother, a Black sister, a Latino brother is just going to get killed whether they got a gun or not. So the reason why y'all or the law enforcement are getting attacked is because we not as stupid as people think we are. And we sick of this shit that the society is doing to us. It ain't your problem, it ain't downtown problem. This shit is larger than we can imagine. And basically, in my opinion, because I got an opinion, and they like assholes and everybody have one. That what they did to Mario Woods was basically like an initiation into the New World Order. Basically, because it didn't take that many people to shoot no kid like that. He ain't even that big, you know what I'm saying? So even if he had a knife or not, why wasn't no negotiators called on Mario Woods? Why couldn't nobody look and see his file? Because you can pull up a police record and see everything a person done done. Because the police just told me I was a 32. You know what a 32 is? I know you do because you homicide. That means I ain't never been in the system. So why they couldn't look up Mario Woods and see some things on the young man before they just did what they did? You know?
When are we going to hear something from San Francisco Police Department that says we are going to police and work in Black and brown communities and do better? We have not seen or heard anything like that. So then my question comes, have Chief Scott, has he reached out to the family? Do you know, the O'Neil family?
I don't know, he has, I have.
Okay, so, but you don't know.
The engagement has.
Yeah, but the thing of it is, you're a captain, right? And so the thing of it is, with captains, you guys have what you call your managerial, maybe I'm saying the right terminology, but you have your meetings, what do you call them? When all you guys come together with the chief and
like
everything?
all hands meeting.
All hands meeting.
Yeah.
So he doesn't say anything about, oh, I reached out to the O'Neil family and.
I haven't had a discussion with him about it, so I don't know if he has or not.
Okay,
So
and
that I don't know.
so the thing of it is that I don't believe he has. You may have, but it's again, it's in our community, nobody really gives a damn. You know what I'm saying? Anything goes. I mean, the culture of San Francisco Police Department is real deep in rogueness, and there's been documents of it. The transparency of this police department saying they have reviewed the DOJ recommendations, and they have half of them done, 272 recommendations, and they have them half done. I just don't believe that. We're going to have to do better in getting our facts on that and really look at that, because part of the DOJ recommendations, when Chief Scott delivers these quarterly reports to the board, and you know, everybody wants the first quarter use of force was down 11%. I believe the second quarter now they're reporting use of force is down 18%. But the thing of it is, what nobody is saying is use of force is down with every ethnicity except for Black people. So I don't know how that happens.
And one thing I will ask you, has this group met with the district attorney's office? Just a question.
We have met with the district attorney's office
In terms
a number of
this
times.
case or the other cases?
We have met with the district attorney numerous times, not only
4 times,
with this
5
case, but with
times.
Mario Woods. We've met with him several times, and you know what? The
He's
district
good for
attorney,
nothing.
the district attorney hasn't done nothing, not going to do nothing.
Only because these things are in his office is the reason I asked.
Yeah, but it's also in your office too,
Well,
administratively. Now, let's keep it straight
Yeah.
now. It's in his office, but it's also in administratively. It's in,
with the police department. It's
but
not
also,
in my office, but
but when I say your office, you
it-
represent the police department, Captain Matthews.
I do.
So
I
when
do.
I say your office, I'm not talking about you personally, but
Right.
it is personally because you're in charge.
And I'm in charge.
You're in charge.
Of certain things.
Okay, so
But-
where does the murder of Keita, where does he fall under in the areas of what you're over? Because I know it falls under your jurisdiction. And so,
Homicide investigates all officer-involved shootings.
okay,
And when they complete their, all of their investigating, the file is turned over to the district attorney's office, who is doing their own investigation. And
Right,
they're
right,
coming
we
up
got
with
that.
their own findings, putting everything together, and then through the district attorney's office, they'll come out with how they're gonna proceed or what they have or their findings.
so on average, approximately for administratively, how long is the investigation? Because Keita was murdered December 1. of 2017. So administratively, how long does it take? You don't,
I can't tell you only because I've only been in this position since October, so I can't
you're
say.
still learning?
Well, yeah and no, but I don't know all of administratively how long it takes that unit to do their investigation.
I'll
I
tell you
can-
not long.
I
It takes a year.
Years.
It takes a year
Years.
because the police officer bill of rights plays out at that point, and then you can't go back to the officer.
But you know, there's a lot of things that they have to collect and they look at to complete their investigation. So, you know, again, each case is gonna vary just because of the nature of what happens in each incident.
So again, Captain Matthews, because you're a smart woman, right? And so we're just looking for something approximately.
And I can't.
Okay,
tell
let me,
you.
I
feel bad.
haven't even asked the question yet.
I-
You won't even let me ask the question
Ask the
yet.
question.
Okay, so approximately, based upon you coming into this new position, and if you weren't qualified, you wouldn't be a captain, because, you know,
Absolutely.
you wouldn't be a captain. So, you know, all your subordinates report to you. And being a captain, you have hands-on information in which I know that you would want to look at statistics and data about your department that you're now coming, you know, that is your department. And to say approximately how long does the investigation last for officer-involved shootings? Approximately, on average of officer-involved shootings in your department, which I know you have looked at data, because you gotta get familiar with your department. On average, how long is the investigation of officers-involved shootings in your department, which you're in
And see,
charge of?
and that falls back on the district attorney's office. You'd be surprised, there are cases that they may come out with their findings on sooner than other cases.
But I'm not
Because-
talking about the district attorney. I'm talking about
So
administratively
administratively.
with officer-involved shootings under your jurisdiction.
Yeah, with our police department, I cannot, I can get back to you, but I cannot tell you how long on average it takes them administratively to, you know, to complete.
Yeah, we would like that
the
information.
investigation.
Put that down. Go ahead.
I don't really have a question. I just wanted to tell you guys, you were talking about the Peace Officers Bill of Rights. That was written by Joe Biden, and it's like a lot of other things, it's been twisted and manipulated and really perverted. We supported SB 1286, and we spent the whole day in Sacramento. And I can personally tell you that the POAs from this whole state literally bust cops in from northern, southern tips of this state to get in there and speak to make sure nothing gets changed on that officer's Bill of Rights. That is going to be a huge uphill battle.
Well, I think what the battle is for us to be unified, because right in this room, we have several movements. And some of these movements have 400 or 500 people in them. And, you know, we need to be up there demanding, we want
Been
this.
there.